I wanted to address some recurring issues. There's been a lot of assessment of the proposal and the amendment before us. But I felt like I wanted to address some of the recurring issues that deserve wider understanding, and they've been a distraction to the public dialogue concerning this difficult decision. The comp plan, and I've given this speech yet before, but it needs to be repeated periodically. The comp plan is a living document with a rich mix of elements. It's aspirational. It's a set of guidelines that point us toward an idealized future. The state mandates that we revise it every 5 years, but in Blacksburg we update it every single year. So 4 times more than the state says that we need to. That's who we are. We're a community of mechanics, technicians, and engineers. We want thorough, rigorous documentation and planning. Our comp plan is many things, the product of many minds, but it's not inerrant, and neither are we. Here's a case in point. Consider the uses that are suggested for the site that's under consideration at this time. The present zoning is rural, but the future land use map anticipates low-density residential next to high-impact commercial, and then maybe a little bit of mixed use mixed in. It's an odd mix, as projected, and it's even stranger given current economic trends and the vacancy rate for commercial properties in this town. We've got vacant commercial on North Main, on South Main, at First and Main, downtown. So it's because, in spite of our significant efforts, we don't have perfect insight into the future, not even if we make revisions every year. And we did make one just last year, and then in March, we unanimously, this group, unanimously agreed that we would entertain an amendment, seeing that a major proposal was coming forward. One of our commissioners wrote, a planning commissioner that is, wrote an op-ed this Sunday acknowledging that this designation in the future land use map was an oversight. He recommends a do-over and is asking for more time to study the situation. This artifact in the future land use map has been there since the first comp plan was created in 1996. So candidly, I don't think that there's much more that we need to know about this prominent location in town that we're all so familiar with. When all is said and done, this council has the information it needs to make an informed decision without abandoning the principles of smart growth, community development, and sustainable land practices that underlined our comp plan. That's why 5 members of the Planning Commission voted to amend the comp plan and recommended the proposed development to this council's attention. That's one thing. A second item I thought I would address is that this process for changing the comp plan, as we've all run over, requires that an amendment effectively aid in the implementation of goals, objectives, and policies of the comp plan. A second qualifier could be one of 3 different qualifiers, but frankly, I think the one where it suggests you could do an amendment because the comp plan has been misinterpreted is actually the one we could easily land on here. I think that there's little question that the proposed amendment will accomplish these ends nonetheless, those of the comp plan. The amendment asks us to change the future land use map from a discordant mix of high-impact commercial right next to low-impact residential. If we change to planned residential, we get the transition in density and intensity that protects neighborhoods, that enhances walkability, that preserves the viewshed and complements the existing neighborhood. A planned development in this location will mirror the one directly across the street and buffer lower density development from the gas station, the hotel, and the landfill, which are closer to the bypass. So I don't see how we fall short on any of the criteria for addressing, for entertaining an amendment. I think there's an issue that's been discussed at some length about whether or not our comp plan permits us to consider student housing at all. And I would remind this assembly that just 1 year ago, we allowed a rezoning from RM48 to planned residential, effectively offering a density bonus to the developer of the edge for 900 students at Price's Fork and Tom's Creek. And in subsequent action, we vacated some rights of way to allow for utility easements and street planning. Not a word was spoken in opposition to student housing at that time, only a year ago. Further, in the old Blacksburg Middle School master plan, we specifically prohibit student housing. And that is to say that student housing is considered normal and expected in this college town. After all, the student population outnumbers us 2 to 1. Where are they to live if not among us in proximity to the university? And why not on one of the town's 2 major arteries, distant from family neighborhoods but directly on a bus line? In my view, this project is in line with goals expressed throughout the comp plan, and I could go on at greater length. I will say that a lot of you here I recognize tonight are my former neighbors, and I hope remain my friends. I raised my children in the Heathwood area, and I want to remind everyone that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of college students who live in Heathwood. A quarter to a third of the population of our entire town is in that well-planned, well-managed neighborhood. So I think this is the change that someone else mentioned earlier, the change that sits uncomfortably with us, but you live with college students every day. So anyway, I'll let it go there.